I've eaten 100% for 100 days on the anti-inflammatory diet, and this is what changed. 100 days ago, I made the decision to get on the anti-inflammatory diet with no knowledge whatsoever on what this would look like for my body and for somebody who looks like me. But there's so many different things that I learned about myself, about my body, about the diet, and so on. But the first thing to note is what the anti-inflammatory diet actually is. And one thing to know is anti-inflammatory is about healing, not just about weight loss. My primary goal of starting the anti-inflammatory diet was to reduce the thyroid issues, reduce the gut issues, the sciatica pain, the acne, and also reverse any diagnoses that I've had. So I decided to take all the research that I've learned, cramming my brain with information and making it work for me. Because one thing I've seen when researching this diet, people that look like me. And I knew I needed flavor, spices, culture, good food, especially if I'm gonna commit to something long term. So let's talk about what happened to my body in the first 2 to 4 weeks. So the first thing I noticed is that my acne and my skin inflammation reduced way more than I thought. And actually, when I started this diet, I was on my cycle, and usually on my cycle, if you're anything like me, I have severe acne on my cheeks, on my jawline, and it comes like clockwork every year for like the last 10 years. So seeing that change firsthand was a first sign like, okay, this may be actually working. I still had a little hormonal, small little breakouts here and there, but for the most part, looking at the difference between my skin over the time, that was a win for me. And also within that first 2 weeks, I lost 10 pounds. I posted about it over on TikTok, and that video got over 2 million views of people wanting to know more about this diet. And all I was doing was documenting my first 10 days, and it's crazy that I actually lost any weight. I had no idea that I would lose weight that fast. But my problem area that I saw reduce is bloating. I woke up almost every day with bloating issues, hard gut, always feeling backed up, always feeling like I'm heavy down there, even when I did eat cleaner food. But one of the biggest wins for me was my stomach feeling flatter and lighter after every meal that I ate. And no, I'm not on a calorie deficit. So that leads me to my energy being stabilized. Usually during the day around 12 to 2 p.m., I have a midday crash. I always felt fatigue and just tired in the midday, no energy, always needed to take a nap after a meal. And on this diet, I haven't really had to take any naps during the day. So my digestion improved, meals felt easier to process, and I felt more regular. So overall, my inflammation decreased, puffiness in my face and my midsection decreased, and my clothes started to fit differently. But one of the main things that has actually helped me on this diet is recreating my favorite foods and just making it anti-inflammatory. So instead of cheat meals and thinking on weekends and how I can eat out and enjoy foods that is not diet food, I just make all my favorite meals anti-inflammatory, so I never actually feel like I'm on a diet. So I recreate foods that support the body. So while cooking, I'm cooking with olive oil, avocado oil, or coconut oil. I use avocado primarily if I want to fry anything. I use olive oil as a dressing and as a cooking oil. And I mainly use coconut oil when I'm baking. Because when food is flavorful, satisfying, restriction literally disappears and nothing feels missing. So I learned that inflammation shows up in different ways, and it's your body's way of responding to something that's happening on the inside. So like I was saying, before I started this diet, inflammation was showing up in bloating, in acne, in joint issues, in a diagnosis in my head, brain fog. I could never remember anything. These symptoms only became obvious after they improved. But I think the hardest thing that people think about when starting a diet is, how do you handle your sugar cravings? And I have one answer for that. I handle my sugar cravings naturally. Just because I started this diet does not mean I'm some sort of superwoman that can just handle chocolate cravings. I'm still a woman, and I still have cravings and desires, especially during that time of the month. I love a good chocolate bar. But just like I stated before, I shifted the way that I eat the same things that I loved before and made it better for my body. So instead, I love brownies. I started to make a sweet potato brownie. And before you say sweet potato brownie, you don't even taste the sweet potato. But as inflammation decreased, my cravings actually shifted. The natural sugars like coconut sugar, maple syrup, date syrup actually tasted sweeter than I thought. And honestly, the constant desire for processed food has faded. At this point, I have no desire to eat any sort of processed food, especially knowing what it does to my body. So what I learned is that my body stopped asking for quick fixes. And as a Caribbean girl, I need food that is so flavorful that it tastes just like home. So I learned that it does not have to be bland. As much flavor as you want. I lean more to the cleaner side of seasonings. A lot of seasonings, unfortunately, in the grocery store either has seed oils, chemicals, fillers, gums, and that doesn't support your body on this diet. So I go for more of like the garlic, the onion, the herbs, and the list of things, and just doctoring it up and putting things together and see what you come up with. Because ultimately, the flavor for your food comes from the spices. And some of my favorite foods that I grew up loving, like my roti and curry chicken and all those things, usually is made with white flour, sugar, milk that has seed oils or gums in it. But instead, I just make those swaps and make that comfort food feel satisfying and good for my body. Like I said, I never crash after these foods, when usually after I have something like roti, I'm knocked out. But I would say the first 30 days can be an adjustment. The adjustment could be the initial changes, the cravings heightening, but this phase was really a part of the healing, not a sign of failing. So I kept myself prepared, especially during the first 30 days. Meal prepped, have a healthy sweet treat already pre-made for you at the top of the week. So during the week, any moment that you're craving something sweet, I can just pull it out of the fridge and make it just like the brownies. You can make cookies, you can bake banana bread, chocolate bread, like whatever it is that you desire to have. Make it at the beginning of the week to make it easier for yourself whenever you're craving those things. You won't naturally run to go buy anything if you already have it made and it actually tastes good. But I learned something about my body that I didn't know before. I actually learned how to communicate with my body. I listen for cues. I know when my body's reacting to something. This diet just makes it 10 times more easier to hear what your body is saying. I feel like I've been able to hear more about what works for my body and what didn't. Just like whenever I decided to give up gluten, I noticed sometimes when I ate certain gluten foods, I would have a reaction. Either my stomach would hurt really bad, I would be breaking out like crazy, and then whenever I stopped, I realized I didn't get those feelings. One example of ways that you can just listen to your body. Eating has become more intuitive because reactions are no longer based on inflammation. But starting this diet has changed the way that I view food and my relationship with food. Before, I'll be on a calorie deficit, counting calories, researching what protein that I need to have, on a protein hunger, trying to get as much protein as I need in my life, and not realizing that your favorite protein foods or high protein or low sugar foods have all additives and seed oils and fillers. And while for some people this may seem like the obvious, check your ingredients, but for many people like myself, I had no idea that you should check your ingredients even though it's labeled and marketed as healthy. I began to have a very unrealistic relationship with food. I would start and stop diets all the time, 75-day hards. I would do keto diet. I would do low sugar diets. And at the end of the week, I would just have a cheat meal because it wasn't supportive and it wasn't sustainable for my lifestyle. One thing I realized about me is I need to be able to have the balance of the foods that I love and enjoy, but why not just do it anti-inflammatory fully? I never have to be restrictive over what I'm craving or what I want to eat. If I'm craving chocolate chip cookies, I'm going to make chocolate chip cookies. Just better for me. So on this diet, I no longer have to view food as a punishment, but I view it as support. Eating anti-inflammatory is really about reducing the inflammation, listening to your body, reducing guilt, and choosing foods that give something back. Healing really doesn't have to taste boring. When food loves your body back, you really don't miss the old ways of eating. It's been 100 days and I have a whole lifetime to go. If you need any help with coming up with meal ideas, dessert ideas, grocery lists, all of that information will be listed in the description box below. Happy healing!